Hello and welcome to the SMEFocus show powered by MTDCNC. I'm Mark Weymouth from the Sensor Specialist Plus Automation. I aim to carry on the great work this show has done for over the past 4 years, championing the UK manufacturing sector and highlighting SMEs. My guest today is Suzan Brown from Net Zero Nation, a net zero ecosystem and certification body based in Scotland. Hi Suzan, welcome to SMEFocus.
Good morning, Mark. Thanks for inviting me.
More than welcome. It's nice to see you. You've had an interesting career, I noticed, thanks to what you put on LinkedIn anyway. I've seen that you've worked in traditional manufacturing, then communication and support roles with the police, logistics businesses and language services. So an interesting combination. Can we kick off by asking you a little bit about that and perhaps what you learned or took away from those different roles?
Yes, of course. The roles I've had have been varied. In manufacturing, particularly, I had a lot of years working for a brake pad manufacturer. I've worked for PTFE hose manufacturing, mainly on the sales side, but customer service comes into that. Yeah, I had a bakery in France. I did work for the police for quite some time. And most recently, it's been language services. And do you know, a lot of what I learned, because I've been in customer service and in sales, is salespeople tend to sell the dream and then someone's got to deliver it. So it's about collaboration, with with the operational side of things. So I think just years of experience learning to deal with people and understand customers has been the main thing. And I was led to Net Zero Nation. I volunteered for them for 3 years, just because I liked what they were doing. And just before COP26, they were wanting to mass mobilise SMEs to give them a voice, which they didn't have a platform. So I helped them out as they started, and as they grew and started to scale up, I was doing more and more work for them. It just made sense that I come and be part of that permanently. I wasn't able to do enough as a part-time volunteer, so I fully committed to them in January this year, January 2024, should I say.
Okay, so tell us more about Net Zero Nation, I guess both their aims and objectives and your role there, please.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the stats that I can give you to start with are the impact that we're having right now. So at this present time, we're up to 500,000 tons of carbon, that have been taken out of the collective businesses, and that's over 16 cohorts. I think we're at 175 companies, and they're winning multi-million pound tenders. We're finding that you need a measurable progress that impacts your brand and your business growth. People that are bidding for contracts that are not being awarded because the sustainability / net zero credibility isn't there, and it is being measured now. So then being better informed about net zero fundamentals, how to really have that credible carbon reduction plan in place to show that real progress. Kind of sum it up as being able to manage the data that they probably have within the business and manage it in a way that can fit towards submitting those tenders and doing it as a collective. It's a journey. It's a journey that we're never going to really stop. It's ongoing. It's a matter of, as I said before, the key thing is mass mobilise SMEs so they can work together, collaboration, helping each other on that continuous journey. They're staying up to date and measuring, innovating, winning more contracts. They're attracting that sort of workforce of the future, if you like, and building that together with shared values. If that answers a little bit.
I think so. So picking out from what you said, the massive number that you gave is from 175 SMEs. It's not 175 coke smelting plants and ironworks. You've managed to make that bigger saving from SMEs, which are very much the focus of this show, but obviously are not big enterprises.
Well, if you think, Mark, we have in the UK 5.5 million SMEs create 44% of the emissions. That's according to the Carbon Trust. The UK in itself have missed climate targets on just about every front. That's from the Committee on Climate Change, 8 times in the last 12 years. So they're the ones that need the most help to enact a net zero action plan. SMEs and the scope 3 emission data, it's an important issue for supply chain owners, and it's not box ticking, it's carbon offsets in a credible approach, kind of, you want to see tangible evidence for tenders of your net zero progress. I mean, it's becoming mandatory. Grants and finance, they also need a credible carbon reduction plan. We do it in a way we set up as a not-for-profit. We don't have shareholders, so we're not here to line shareholder pockets. We're here to, the SMEs are at the heart of what we do, and that's why we chose SMEs as people to have on the accelerator.
Okay. When you start working with the SMEs, or maybe before you start working, when you're trying to explain to them and trying to get things going, what are the typical questions they ask? What are they saying about net zero? Either what prompted them to come to you, or how did you find them, maybe also as part of that?
So the founder, Gavin Tweedy, he back in the day, he realised, as I said, for COP26, that SME didn't have this collective voice, and we wanted to make the area open to SMEs, because when we went out and asked questions, there was a lot of fog around net zero. There was a lot of people saying, well, it doesn't apply to me. Well, I can't make a difference. How do I start? What do I measure? People just didn't understand how to make a start. And a lot of businesses you'd find already had the values, and they were already thinking, right, I'll collect data, I'll start to collect some data. What do I do with it? How do I put that in a way that will satisfy, people that are asking for it? I'm looking at what Mark Carney, who's the UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance, and he said net zero is the greatest business opportunity of our lifetime for the companies that decide to embrace it. So net zero is confusing too many business leaders. It's increasingly becoming a license to trade, as far as we can see from the businesses we've spoken to. It's about making that choice to embrace it or get left behind, as from what Mark Carney said. And executive stakeholders, they see it as future-proofing the businesses, not, for their employees, for the customers, for the communities and the investors. It sounds a bit corny, but it is a license to trade, and we are seeing real growth within businesses. An example is a cybersecurity company in East Ayrshire that won a multi-million-pound contract, beating household names because they didn't have the credibility. There's too much fog, there's not enough transparency, and we go forward with transparency and work with the businesses. That's what I love best. I've recently been given the title of community and commercial manager, because my job's to make sure the businesses are getting enough out of the programme as a collective to be able to grow the business. You'll see profits, because at the end of the day, that's what they want to do. It's the businesses that need to profit, and that's where I get my job satisfaction from.
Okay. So what typical data are the SMEs collecting, or where are they getting the data from? How are they then applying it, I assume, to then yield savings? So what they're doing is they will have everybody has the data. Scopes 1 and Scope 2, what you buy and what you burn, they will have that data, the commuting and their energy bills. And then into year 2, we start to delve more into Scope 3 and the supply chain, which is a huge one. At the moment, we're looking at, we're partnering with Forth Ports, who are really leading the charge. They want to be net zero for 2042, I believe. That's their commitment. And the data, when you get into the Scope 3, is more difficult. However, it is there. It just takes a little bit more time to put pressure onto supply chains, your suppliers. So I think it is a journey. It's a continued journey. Thankfully, as we do it in cohorts, or we do a virtual rolling accelerator now, which
gives you the chance to, how can I put it? You collaborate with other businesses. Somebody's waste is going to be useful to another business. We have Amy Britain Scotland Products. She makes all sorts of sort of laptop bags, accessories out of waste tweed and the plastic that covers a wind turbine. She got picked up by Ørsted, and they copied her products onto LinkedIn. I mean, they're being noticed by CEOs of big companies like Ørsted. So there is a lot of noise around. I think I've gone off your original question there, where you say how do they measure? They measured upskilling someone within the business. So maybe someone in accounts. We'd love, you do a monthly meeting for accounts. Where are we with the finances? So you're going to upskill someone within the team as the sort of a net zero person who will be taken to those meetings where they are with the carbon. The carbon accounts become part of your package. That's really embedding the value of net zero within the business for me.
Okay, and does the sort of the frameworks that you use to educate the companies, does that show them how to get the information and how to calculate it and think about it, or is there also an element of the cohort where they might be able to help each other figure out which suppliers are better at giving them information?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We help, that's what we do within the first 12 months. We help educate people to be able to engage with their supply chain. The information will be there. The data that they need will be there. We help them to gather it in a certain way. And we are partnered with, so within our program, we have Notch software. So that's the carbon accounting software. And we have the carbon account experts that we call. So they're part of the Carbon Accounting Alliance. There isn't one legislation at the moment, and that's why there's a lot of fog and there's a lot of people sort of jumping in to make a profit, which is disappointing. I understand that everybody needs to work, but we're here to give the right price and reinvest profits into being able to get, smaller charities that can't afford it but need funding. So having certification with Net Zero Nation allows them to have access to that funding. We channel that back and keep our prices really low for charities. I mean, I have an example of a charity being, I think they were quoted £16,000. I mean, we can do 4 full price accelerators for that, and a small charity was being quoted that just for them to be able to get funding, and that's not what we do. We keep everything, on a level. I mean, our reports are validated by greenhouse gas protocols. You've got so many initials and so many bits around what, the reporting standards. But they're aligned to greenhouse gas protocols, science-based targets, SECR reporting standards, PPN 0621, that's public procurement notice, isn't it? And there are other standards that it will apply to that are coming along all the time, construction line and JASCA, things like that.
Okay. Are there any sort of typical challenges that SMEs face? I guess, when you start dealing with someone, are you able to map out almost in advance the typical challenges that you're going to have to help them through?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is getting on the ladder, deciding to start, because there's a lot of it, there's a lot of people saying, oh, we're not going to have time to do that. And then when they realise, actually, yes, we start with a few meetings that are a bit intense, and we have, I think in the programme there are 6 2-hour meetings, but we streamlined it so that people can, rather than having a schedule, we are making sort of bigger meetings of the wider ecosystem more accessible, and then choosing online the dates that, rather than being given a schedule, these are the dates throughout the year. No, you can catch up. There are catch-up sessions, and you choose the dates that are easiest. And really, the reason for quite a lot of contact in the early days is to start embedding the process and choosing a person, and always be speaking about the values. We're not we're a bunch of entrepreneurs that have got a lot of business experience, and bringing that to the table to help sort of overcome the challenges, which is the main one that we come across is the time. And that's never, there are odd times people have to defer because they're moving premises or things like that, but it's never, out of the 175 businesses, I think 3 have deferred. So the time constraints, they quickly see that it's not really an issue. It's gathering the data once you've started can be a few hours every month.
And would you be able to say that typically the time, does an SME owner cover half of those hours, you say, and then there's somebody else, usually within a business, there's somebody assigned the task of following through the net zero project, or how does it tend to play out?
Yeah, we have, obviously we need stakeholder buy-in, because that's the leader who wants their business to move ahead and win more contracts through growing through net zero initiatives. And then, as I mentioned, upskilling. So you're going to choose someone who's going to be an accelerator lead. So the accelerator lead will be the one that speaks to the carbon expert, and then they pass it down. You know, we encourage them to have newsletters that get, I mean, it gives good news stories of collaboration, and there are social value aspects towards, which is another part that everybody needs to be showing now. So yeah, I would say the executive stakeholder who just makes the initial decision and keeps interested in it, the financial controller, and an accelerator lead who can be anybody within the business. Often they come from finance, sometimes it's a marketing person, but it's someone that owns that area. And I've seen that people have then handed, or in years 2 and 3, they've handed the baton on to someone else that's come into the business, and everybody gets involved, which is music to my ears.
If I was asked to ask you a difficult question, I don't know if it's the elevator pitch or what it is, how would you describe, or how would you summarize how the accelerator works?
So it's do you know, I don't like the word journey or pathway, but it's a continued program of, to sum it up, there's an onboarding period which might be a little bit more intense, a few more hours, and then it steadies out into, we have a momentum, we have a master session where you learn about the top-notch software, you have one-to-ones with the carbon experts across the year. So there are 6 sessions of to keep the momentum, and certification at the end of each year. So it is a continued journey. It's not a 12 months, here's your certificate, off you go, because you've got a benchmark year and then you're seeing the progress all along. I mean, the software is brilliant because you get a report, you can pull a report anytime, you know, with all the lovely bells and whistles and graphics that show how, you know, how you're reducing carbon, and how we see people increasing their, you know, the staff, and because their business is growing. So it's a win-win as far as we're concerned.
Okay. How much of your support is provided online and virtual? And the reason behind the question is, obviously in your introduction I described you as being based in Scotland, but I'm assuming this is something you roll out throughout the country. So what's the practicalities of a Scottish service provider serving the UK?
Do you know, it started in Scotland, and we are growing into quite a few UK businesses because the word spreads, and our, if you like, some of the businesses that are on the accelerator have recommended us to other parts of the business. There's a business that's UK wide, and they're rolling that out to all of their sort of depots and departments. I'd say we did start as cohorts in person. However, the amount of businesses that are now coming to us, we're finding it's easier for them to follow the online program. So you're getting the exact same program. You're just not having to drive to, I don't know, to Grangemouth or over to East Ayrshire to get together. But we don't want to stop the getting together in a room. And I know you're going to ask me, I keep stopping myself from talking about the future. But we've built a whole new community online that we launched just at the end of December. And that brings people together, because the cohorts are all good, because you need to have that peer learning and oh, this happened to us. Oh, well, we this is how we solved it. One cohort got together to reduce their energy bills. So there is always progress, and meeting in person is so important. However, to deliver the program, we are doing that mainly online at the moment. The future is online, and then for in-person meetings, big community net zero meetings where every day, when we've had them in the past, people are coming together. That's what you do, and you're not being introduced to other businesses on that same journey. So we will always keep the in-person meetings a few times throughout the year. Logistically, a lot of our businesses have been engaged now around the Port of Rosyth and over towards East Ayrshire, because their local government invested heavily in promoting local businesses. So yeah, we've got a few in the south of England, we've got north west. So yes, we are growing into the UK, and hopefully can reach new SMEs and just have the chat and see if this is something that they've looked at and how we can help them.
Okay, excellent. Well, you've segued probably quite nicely into the final question, which is the traditional one of what does the year have in store? So we're at the start of a new year, lots of positivity about what's ahead. So what have you got planned for 2025, maybe personally and as a business?
And a lot of your SMEs are watching and will have gone through the pain of this, the scaling up. Because remember, in 2020, we were a startup, and having built that way, that there is a part where we've now got past the pain, and we've been able to automize a lot of our processes to be able to help more SMEs. And we built a community where we've got a circular economy area, where people can say, look, I have leftover materials from this. We had lifting strap people. They were all, lifting straps can only be used so many times. And then, they have to be, landfill or waste. Obviously, we have a lot of waste management people. So we take what may have gone to waste management or landfill, and we see if the community need that and if that can help. So there's people making, again, laptop cases out of old straps and fire hoses from there's a company in Cumnock that have supply electric fire engines, and they're now delivering the program themselves. So there's scope to come and deliver onwards. It's just a continued journey. So the community brings everybody together, rather than there being a few people in the office that can say, oh, so these people have got that. Oh, there's granite from the curling stones left over. Could that help the organic farms? The dust from it. And, it's endless. So the new community where people can log on and ask questions directly of others is just so much faster than everything going through me or one of the team. And we're always on there finding, when there's new initiatives, when new standards come into play. It's just a continued journey, but I'm very excited about the community. And at the moment, anyone can join that. You will have limited access if you're not on an accelerator, but we wanted to open it to the wider community of SMEs, really.
Okay. And how do people find that if they're either, I guess I was probably going to wrap up with asking how people contact you. So maybe let's combine everything. How would people reach out to contact you? But also if people just wanted to browse into this resource of ideas, how can they do that? Yeah,
well, you will find Net Zero Nation on LinkedIn. You will find our website at netzeronation.eco, ECO at the end. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm quite easy to find because my name is a little bit of a peculiar spelling. The Yorkshire lass who's in Scotland. Most people can find me on LinkedIn. And I'm quite responsive on there. If anyone wants to know a little bit more, just have a chat if you've got questions about net zero, because at the heart of it, we want to give SMEs a collective voice, and we don't want to overcharge to have them on board, because there are people think that it's too expensive or it's going to be too complicated, just have a chat, just see what you are doing. People also think, oh, we're in the steel industry and construction industry, we make so much carbon, we kind of don't want to measure it. Yes, measure it. Be transparent, show where you are, and we can show you the progress, because our Net Zero International colleagues will be able to help you with where you can measure and make progress. We have sort of a diagnostic, gosh, I can't get my words out today. We've got a diagnostic tool that will help to see where we can help you make improvements.
Okay, sounds interesting. I think the big takeaway from me was a not-for-profit organisation that's centred on SMEs has got to make you stand out and got to appeal to the audience. So I hope people reach out to you, and I thank you very much for your time, Suzan.
Hope so, too. Thank you, Mark. It's been really lovely. Sorry, I've done all the talking.
Believe me, that was the agreement. I'm sure the audience are grateful of it. Okay, well, I will wrap up with the usual bit to say that if you'd like to get in touch with the show, if you've got a comment, a suggestion, or particularly if you'd like to appear in a future episode, please email us at inquiries@mtdcnc.com or contact myself, Stuart Whitehead, Joe Reynolds. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. From me, Mark Weymouth, Plus Automation. Cheers. Have fun.